with Cliff Kingsbury now in place as the Commanders' OC, do you want Washington to trade up to select Caleb Williams, who played for him last season at USC? What do you think the poll's at over 2,000 votes?
I'm going to say 67% want the Commanders to trade up for Caleb Williams.
Always bet against cakes.
32%.
It's the exact opposite.
32%.
It is 66% do not want them to trade
That kind of
for
surprising.
Caleb Williams. But
Because they just
yesterday,
don't want to give up the assets.
you get the news about Cliff Kingsbury affection for Caleb Williams. Albert Breer said,
Cliff loves Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Cliff said to me on the record that the comparisons between he and Patrick Mahomes, right, like all of that, he said it's eerie how similar they are. And Cliff, remember, was the one in 2017 who would tell everyone until he was blue in the face how Patrick Mahomes was much better than everybody thought. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, you line the whole thing up. Cliff's there, new ownership, looking to make a splash. Caleb Williams is from there. It wouldn't surprise me if Washington put together some sort of blockbuster offer to move up a spot and get Caleb Williams.
our Junkies poll today brought to you by Van Meter Homes, and that's why I was surprised. 67% out on trading up to get somebody who's being compared to Patrick Mahomes. What I'd say is if you're sure that this guy can turn out to be a la Patrick Mahomes, I would do the Mike Ditka and trade every pick.
You pull the trigger in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but then you figure if someone in Washington believes that, someone in Chicago probably believes that too. So
most likely.
If Chicago believes, and by the way, it's not always a positive if you're from a city and you grew up in that city and then you're playing there as a professional.
Jumps to mind.
It's not always a positive,
right?
He sucks in San Francisco too.
Well, that's true. Turns out it doesn't matter what city he plays in.
Mike Florio has kind of an interesting theory about how Caleb Williams can work his way to Washington if he doesn't want to go to Chicago. Of course, we've seen this before. Eli Manning didn't want to play for the Chargers.
His father didn't want him
with
to play.
the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Here's what Florio said from Radio Row yesterday.
There is a way that it can happen, and I hadn't really thought it through like this. But 12 years ago, when Andrew Luck and RG3 were coming out, RG3 wanted nothing to do with the Colts.
Yeah.
But never said it.
Right.
He just made it clear in the communications with the Colts,
Right.
I'm not interested. Invited him for a private visit. I'm not interested.
Right.
I'm not coming.
Right.
So it makes it easier for them to go to Andrew Luck. And I wonder, and that's a way that you can exert yourself without creating a problem among media and fans who would say, how dare you not treat it as an honor and a privilege to be the first player drafted.
Yeah.
But if he starts getting word to the Bears, I'm really not interested in playing for you.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in coming to have a stake with you and the executive staff. I really don't want to be there. And you don't go public with it, that's a way to bend it toward, and all you got to go is one spot, bend it toward Washington. And I concluded by telling the folks in Chicago, keep your ears open for hearing reports that the Bears have fallen in love with Drake May, the Bears have become smitten with Jaden Daniels, that becomes the cover, that no one said no to anybody. The Bears didn't get spurned by Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
But they were going to, so they made the smart play, and they settled on someone else, and that opens the door for Williams to go to Commanders. That's a more nuanced way to do it that doesn't require the kind of ugliness that we saw from John Elway and Eli Manning.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's a way to engineer it if you're Caleb Williams, and if this is all about keeping Cliff and Caleb together.
So, yeah. I mean, maybe. Who knows? I mean, Mike just throws out all these random hypotheticals. But I suppose that could maybe work.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the Bears really know that if Caleb Williams' agent's saying, hey, you know what, he doesn't want to be there. I mean, do you want to draft a kid that doesn't want to be there?
Right.
I mean,
if you're Peters, can you just sit there and hope that somehow you don't have to trade anything and the Bears bypass Caleb at one?
Yeah, I mean, then
and
you
just
jump
pick him
on
at
him.
two?
I mean, that would be unlikely.
Yeah, but what's interesting about Caleb, he doesn't have an agent.
Okay.
They said that's one of the red flags, that he doesn't care where he goes, and he doesn't mind going to Chicago, because if he did want, it's a very intricate, difficult process, and you have to have an agent fight those battles for you. So far.
So who's representing him? His father?
I believe so.
Yeah. So that's just
that sounds
not
thorny.
that can't change, but as of right now and all last year with NIL stuff, he never had an agent.
Can't imagine he's not going to have an agent negotiate contracts.
Crazy.
But who knows?
Or just help him navigate these few months leading up to the draft.
And again, who knows what to believe when you hear stuff like Caleb Williams doesn't want to go to Chicago? You don't know.
It's been rebuffed.
Unless he comes out publicly and says, I don't want to go there. I don't necessarily believe it.
It's been rebuffed by his head coach, for what it's worth, at USC, Lincoln Riley.
Mm-hmm.
He was making the rounds. He was on every show the other day. He was on Colin Cowherd, Pat McAfee, all those shows that come on after us on TV.
Yeah.
And he said, I think it's a total smokescreen. I mean, I think it's people playing a game, but says he does not believe that Caleb Williams has an aversion for Chicago.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows?
Here's the further on. Riley says, knowing Caleb, like location-wise, I don't think he cares one bit where he's at. Like all franchises are in really good cities. There are advantages to anywhere that you go. He wants to win. He wants to be a guy that's playing in this game, the Super Bowl, that's getting ready to come up this week. And I think for him, it's less about location, and it's just more about getting in the right situation where he knows he can contribute to develop and to do the things he needs to do to help a franchise be successful. And that's it.
So just getting back to your sort of idea of if you think it's Patrick Mahomes, just go get him. First of all, I think that's a very, very high bar, right? Like how many guys are actually Patrick Mahomes? I mean,
absolutely, but
Kingsbury
the new offensive coordinator says it's eerie how similar they are.
Understood. But if you
he's worked with both of them.
But if you think, say, for example, just Drake May, and I don't, but because I don't know. But if you think that Drake May is maybe Matthew Stafford / Justin Herbert, okay, clearly Mahomes is better, but those guys, you can win with those guys too.
Yeah.
Then maybe you don't pay the first. I think they're reporting he's going to take 2 ones to go up. And when you're a team like Washington that literally is void of talent, I don't think you can afford to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. If you really like the kid, and Chicago knows you really like the kid, you have to jump up to get him, are you willing to give up all those extra assets? I mean, I don't know if Adam Peters is willing to do that.
Yeah.
If you're telling me he's going to be Mahomes, like if Kingsbury is in Adam Peters' ear and saying, look, I guarantee you this guy is going to be an absolute stud, then I think you do make the move. But Eric brings up a good point. Like if you have a grade on Drake May or Jaden Daniels that he's going to be the next Josh Allen, and look, Patrick Mahomes is the best, but Josh Allen's pretty close. Then
you could win with Josh Allen. I'd kill for Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Kill for him.
But I'd rather,
he's not perfect,
but I'd
I kill
rather
for him.
Patrick Mahomes.
But the Bills are probably haunted.
Patrick Mahomes is better,
but the chances of Caleb Williams being the next Patrick Mahomes is pretty low.
Yeah, pretty
Did the Bills trade their pick to the Chiefs? I think the Bills had a chance to draft Patrick Mahomes, took Josh Allen. Is it the next season? Potentially the next season.
I'd have to go back and
that's kind of haunting. We've seen what's happened every time the Bills face KC in the playoffs.
Well,
so
it's not one.
It's going to be interesting. Adam Peters, and I do think what Florio says, it's a good point. Like, pay attention to the stories that start coming out. Like, if all of a sudden you get some stories of him rebuffing the Bears for workouts or invites, then maybe it does.
I mean, maybe Caleb Williams really wants to play with Kingsbury. Maybe he really likes him. Maybe that could be true. I don't know, but
still, I mean, Washington has to be willing to give up what
something.
It takes, and
Correct.
I'm not sure that they're going to do that.
I heard somebody make this point. It's true that most people think Caleb had a better year a year before. He won the Heisman a year before, and then this year maybe it slipped some. This is the year that you had Cliff Kingsbury. The year before, it's Lincoln Riley's offense. Like, Lincoln Riley was the one that was getting all the credit, and Kingsbury jumped aboard. And I'm not saying he didn't do anything as an offensive coordinator, but Caleb thrived before Cliff Kingsbury showed up.
Yeah, I mean, I think Caleb will be Caleb without Kingsbury. But Kingsbury does have a great resume of other quarterbacks that he's worked with.
Yes.
So,
and you got to trust Dan Quinn and Adam Peters that they made the right choice on the OC.
Yeah.
We'll see, but you got to trust them.
Where'd he grow up? I know he went to Gonzaga.
Caleb?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was he a Bowie kid?
I think he's from Bowie.
I think he's
from
PG
our hometown.
I think he's PG County, yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty sure he's from Bowie.
Might be a Bowie kid. Bowie's so big now. There's a lot of kids come from there.
But it's going to be very interesting. Just the quarterback position alone, not just in the draft, but, where's Justin Fields? If the Bears are going to go with a quarterback in the draft, where's Justin Fields traded? Mm-hmm. Where's Kirk Cousins going to go? There's still guys that are in the league now that are going to be playing in different cities and different teams. So quarterback position's always dicey, man. It's always a story. And this year with the draft class, it's going to be similar than, where maybe a couple of years ago we had number three quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see where
Adam
they go.
Peters to ID the right guy and pick that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's got to be the right guy for your organization, your fit, what you have, what you're asking them to do. We'll see.
And then what do the Commanders do in free agency? How many pieces do they got and pluck offensively?
Well,
are they going out to get another receiver? Are they going to go out and get a tight end? Are they going to, you would assume they're going to get some offensive linemen.
They got to get offensive linemen.
Are they going to go out and get another RB?
Got to get the quarterback right.
But you got to get the quarterback right.
And it'll be interesting. I found it interesting that most people that are followers of the team seem out on the prospects of trading up for Caleb Williams. He's a polarizing guy, and I do think a lot of people agree with you that he's flaky, that he's weird. Mm-hmm. And also I think there are a lot of people that are just scared. And they point to like the RG3 trade and how much was given up for RG3.
Didn't work out.
I think you gotta bury the ghosts of the past.
Got to keep taking.
You have to treat this independently. And if Caleb Williams is worth it, and it's just one spot,
this is the way I look at it. And I've been pro Dan Quinn, obviously for weeks. But I do believe in the do theory.
Do theory.
Washington's not going to be horrible forever.
I kind of believe in that too. Like at some point, they have to improve.
You know what I mean? They're not going to be horrible forever.
They can't be bottom feeders every year.
Now, if Dan Snyder still owned the team,
right?
Okay, I'd say all right. They're going. He's just going to make bad decisions.
Right.
But now you've got a whole new hierarchy and different people that are, have got great reputations, good decision makers. I truly believe. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, even though JP thinks they might go to the playoffs next year.
I'm just not closing that door. I'm not predicting it. Let me see what happens this offseason. I agree with DB.
I'm with you. It's possible. I just think that they're going to, at some point, they're going to get better, and they're going to be near the top of the division again.
Let's say they make a move for Caleb Williams, and we like what they do in free agency. Well, then I'd say, yeah, maybe they're going to have a chance. Because I think Caleb Williams coming out of college, and we'll see. It could change. The narrative could change before the draft. But I think he's more highly regarded than C.J. Stroud. I think he's more highly regarded than Bryce Young.
Yep.
Those guys were the top two picks this past year.
And so this team may never be drafting at this spot again under Adam Peters. Like, it's never going to be cheaper to move up from 2 to 1 than it is this upcoming draft cycle.
Yeah. But again, whoever it is they draft, it's got to work out.
Right. If you want to chime in, 800-636-1067, would you make the move up to assure that you get Caleb Williams out of USC? According to the Post, he did grow up in Bowie. Mm-hmm. He moved with his family into a Northwest D.C. apartment when he chose Gonzaga to go to high school. Before that, he attended.
He wants to deal with that traffic.
He attended St. Pius in Bowie, which is right by the old Bowie Library and Bowie High School. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what community, if he grew up in like the K section and P section, and who knows exactly where he grew up, but he did grow up in Bowie, and we don't know if he'll want to come back. Kevin Durant's had plenty of chances to come back, and every time he's chosen elsewhere.
Well, he knows it's a headache.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a distraction.
He knows
of all
it's
these
a big-time
people.
headache, especially for Kevin Durant.
Although I'd say Jonathan Allen seems to like playing at home.
It's true. Jonathan's more like kind of out in the suburbs, like kind of on his own, right? It seems like a little more reclusive, likes to play video games all day. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying that Caleb. I'll take whoever we had on that said that Caleb doesn't really care where he plays. Maybe I heard that on the Kime podcast this morning.
Well, that's what Lincoln Riley said.
Yeah, that he doesn't care.
Kind of disrespectful that we don't make notable people from Bowie.
I think it is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's disrespectful.
Who makes it?
In Wiki?
Spencer Anderson, guard for the Steelers. Ricky Arnold, an astronaut. Michael Bray, not Mike Bray, convicted conspirator in numerous bombings. That guy makes the list over us.
Honestly,
from
notable. He's notable.
Can't you just add?
Those guys are what they are is forgettable.
Yeah,
but can't you just add our names if you really want to be on there?
Somebody can, but I don't think you can add your own.
I mean,
at least Drabby would have.
Young Manny, American rapper. Has anybody heard of that guy? Young Manny?
No.
Does anybody know that person?
Forgettable.
No respect.
I'm sorry. We should be on this list.
Most famous, most notable from Bowie.
I mean, I'm not arguing over here. Kathy Lee Gifford, she's not from Bowie. She's from Napa. No, she is from Bowie. She claims she's from, like, West Annapolis, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't even exist. That's not even a thing.
What the hell was she here, man? Because Kathy Lee's got to be about 70, right? She must have been in one of the originals.
Now, this guy deserves...
OGs from Bowie.
This guy does deserve to be on the list. Daniel Jungleman Cates, professional poker player.
Right.
Jungleman should be on that list.
I think
and that guy's a stud.
And Daniel Cates.
Yes. And Caleb Williams.
I interviewed Daniel Cates when he was 18 years old.
Yes.
He was working at McDonald's.
He is a wackadoo.
He's a weirdo, but he's a genius.
He is a genius.
All right, you want to sneak in some phone calls?
Genius.
Yeah.
800-636-1067. Your thoughts on Caleb Williams. We'll come back, take your calls next here on the Junkies.
If it's a huge hit and he's Patrick Mahomes light and he's, a franchise changer, then you don't care about giving up the capital.
Well, you might if
capital.
you can get Drake May, who is Josh Allen light.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, but there's no
that's how
guarantee
you
that
view
hits
him.
either.
Right?
There's
right,
no
I
what?
know, but there's no extra cost.
He's polarizing. Yeah. Here's an example from one of the comments. Sports Junkies Radio, give us a follow on Instagram. Too much drama, another RG3, take May. And my guess would be this person who has the comment on Instagram, he's probably not watched much of Drake May or Caleb Williams, to be honest. It's just the reputation that these guys carry.
Yes. I'm going to have concerns.
Yeah, but people are going to be bitter if they sit at 2 and they take Drake May and Drake May becomes, I don't know, say he becomes Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, you're right.
Then you're going to be pissed
also going to be
that you didn't take a shot at Caleb Williams.
All right, you're also going to be pissed if you trade up for Caleb Williams and he turns out to be
RG3.
Desmond Ridder.
That's true too.
So,
but I don't see that. I don't see him becoming Desmond Ridder. I feel like his floor and ceiling are much higher than Desmond Ridder.
What do you think Caleb Williams'
who's
floor
picked in the third round?
What do you think Caleb Williams' floor is?
I understand that, but number one picks, they falter all the time.
Yeah, what do you think his floor is?
His floor, I'd probably say his floor is top 12 quarterback in the league. And his ceiling is top 2 or 3 quarterback in the league.
But that'd be great. I think the floor of all of these guys is bust. I mean, we know if, let's just say 1, 2, 3 is Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. The odds are at least one's going to bust, if not 2.
Correct. Maybe not bust to the point of, becoming a backup, in the first couple of years of their, like Zach Wilson.
Trevor Lawrence was pretty highly well thought of.
You could bust and just be an average quarterback, but still be a starter. And if you're picked in the top 3, I guess is considered a bust.
Look, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing at Adam Peters if he stands pat at 2 and either the Bears or somebody else swoops into number 1 and takes Williams. Williams becomes a star, and whoever Peters picks, say that person just flames out or is underwhelming.
But look at
there's going to be finger pointing.
Right, but again, if the Bears really love Caleb Williams,
there's not as much.
If they love him, they think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes.
Anyway.
They're not going to say, we'll take Drake May if they think Drake May is.
There's not as much if they go ahead of you. It's if you pass on them that you get the greed.
Right.
Look at the 2021 NFL draft. Trevor Lawrence goes 1. He's been pretty good, although he kind of had a down year this year. Zach Wilson 2, bust. Trey Lance 3, bust.
Yeah.
At 11 was Justin Fields. You could work with him, but it's a big question mark.
But he's been better than 2 and 3.
15's Mac Jones. So 5 quarterbacks in the top 15, and only 1 you could say is a hit, and it's not even that great of a hit because Trevor Lawrence kind of had a down year this year.
Agreed.
Yeah, but you still have to hit at whoever you draft.
Yes.
Everyone says draft an offensive lineman. Look at the offensive lineman drafted in the top 10 the last few years. Evan Neal from the Giants sucks. He's going to be a backup right tackle. When's the last time you heard the name Ike Ekwonu? The night he was drafted.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, he was drafted 7 overall by the Panthers.
Yeah.
He sucks. Paris Johnson had a 60 PFF grade last year.
So hold on, what is your point?
I mean, all the guys can bust. Everyone just says Chase Young bust. Everyone just says draft lineman. You have to hit no matter who you draft.
It's a good point.
The other positions bust too.
I can't take a lineman in the top 3.
100%.
That's just insanity.
I don't think anybody disagrees with you.
Well, I know a lot of the callers, people call and say you can't take a quarterback because they have a high bust potential.
No, they all bust.
They all do. You have to take quarterback.
All right, let's go to some of the callers.
I do think quarterback's a harder position than all the others, but sure,
you got to take
your
your shot at a quarterback.
We've got Spencer Carberry, Caps coach, joining us at 7, so let's bang out some of these calls.
Let's go to Pat. Hey, Margaret. Pat, what's up, bud?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, Cliff Kingsbury begged for Kyler Murray, and that didn't work out so great. So I'm not so sure about his comparing Caleb Williams to Mahomes.
Right.
The other thing, you were talking about local players, and you compared Chase Young is not working out. Haskins was also local, and that didn't work out so well with all the pressure of being a local kid.
Well, that was also an owner-driven pick. Like the football people in the building, they wanted nothing to do with Dwayne Haskins or drafting him.
Well, that's probably true, too. And last thing I'm going to say, you were talking about Chase Young. I saw him in that game against the Lions. He gave up on that Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown where he came across the middle or came across the field.
Mm-hmm.
If he had finished the play out, he probably would have tackled him on the 2 or 3 yard line. So,
yep, you're right.
Just my point.
Yep,
you guys
you're right.
have a great day.
All right, thank you,
By the
buddy.
way, people crush Kyler Murray. They bury him. But if you look at his numbers, guy's thrown 94 touchdowns against 46 picks, and he's rushed for 26 touchdowns, and that's including time missed doing an ACL.
No one will question the talent.
Right.
He's just a little bit uncoachable.
He's aloof and he's weird.
Yeah, but here's what's interesting, Jason. That was my perception too. But I listened to Kime interview a guy from Phoenix or Arizona, where the hell they are, who covered the Cardinals, and he said everybody knows that relationship kind of soured, but he said the reason why it soured is because Kingsbury was just like treated him with kid gloves, and Kyler likes to be coached.
You got to be tough on him. Yeah,
maybe he likes to be coached, and he said Cliff just wasn't that kind of guy with him.
Then he took advantage of it because when you show up late all the time to meetings, that tells me a lot about your character.
That's true, too. Let's go to Andre in Manassas. Andre, what's up?
What's up, Dre?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey, man.
I think if Kingsbury is, the quarterback guru everyone says it is, I think his true value is not taking a first-round pick and making him a Pro Bowl. I think there's true value be making taking the third, fourth-round pick and making that individual a Pro Bowler. And that's how I view Kingsbury. I mean, taking the number one and making him, what he's supposed to be, that's not necessarily what I think you bring Kingsbury in for. So having said all that, I wouldn't necessarily take any of those quarterbacks. I would take a wide receiver, with that pick. If possible, if other teams are coming in and giving us more picks, I know the last couple of years, a lot of good teams have had like 2, 3 first-round picks in the draft, and that would be something that would entice me. So I think if and I know people will say it's a risk not to take a quarterback, but I think it's even a bigger risk, and bigger risk, more reward if you take a quarterback in the third and fourth, and then develop into something big. So that's my 2 cents.
No.
All right,
when you pick at number 2, you have to select a quarterback. When you're wandering through the quarterback wasteland, like Washington has been for the last basically 25 years.
You're not going to wait to the third or fourth round.
Yeah. That's insane.
Let's go to Kurt in D.C. Kurt, what's up?
Good morning, gentlemen. How you all doing?
Good.
Okay, first I would like to say I don't think they should go up and get him. But if they do decide they want to go up and get him, then just make that decision and go up and get him. Because if Caleb Williams and his team make it clear they don't want to go to the Bears, I don't think they should sit and just wait for him to drop to 2, because somebody will go up to that top spot and get him, and they'll give up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not us, it'll be somebody. But what I do think they should do is between Kingsbury, DQ, and Adam Peters, they should study Drake May and Jaden Daniels very carefully and decide which one they want, with Kingsbury taking lead, or which one they think he could develop the best, and make a decision to go with one of those or either trade out of it if they don't like any of them.
Well, they will. They will.
Thank you, buddy.
They're going to look at every.
And if you're Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears, you actually don't want to trade with the Commanders because you're going to get less in return. You want to bait one of the teams, like
number
down,
6 or
8,
7 or 8.
You want to bait the Falcons into coming up, or you want to bait, the
Raiders,
the Jets if they want to, upgrade for after Aaron Rodgers leaves. Like, yeah, you want one of the like the Vikings are sitting at 11. Like, who knows what they're going to do with Kirk Cousins going forward? Those are the teams that you want to target. Like, he's going to get a lesser return from the Commanders in a trade up. Like those other teams have to pony up more.
Yeah, but the problem is if you trade down to 8, 10, 11, 12,
then you don't get a quarterback.
Then you might not get one of those top three.
Maybe he looks at this quarterback crop and says, you know what,
true.
I'm going to wait till next year. This one doesn't impress me that much.
Well, true, maybe.
For what it's worth, Richard Sherman, who's on Undisputed now, said the Commanders aren't getting Cliff Kingsbury to draft Drake May. He believes it's to entice Caleb Williams. And I will say, Sherman, very analytical, thinks the hire of Cliff Kingsbury is great. He said, I think Cliff Kingsbury, in my time in the National Football League playing against him, he's really creative offensively in terms of the passing game and the concepts that they draw up. It's not the common concepts that you're used to seeing. It's not the common quarterback reads that you're used to seeing. It's very intricate. I've had a couple times where I've talked to him after the game, was like, bro, I've got a lot of respect for the concepts you're drawing up. It's some good stuff. But he does say that the run game, pedestrian. That's from Richard Sherman, who, of course, was a star in the league for years. So will be interesting to see what we're going to hear here in the next couple of weeks.
How different this team's going to look, yeah.
And, we'll hear it all the way through the combine, and I'm sure he's not going to throw at the combine, but he'll have a pro day, and everybody will have a pro day, and we'll go nuts.
This is just the beginning.
It is just the beginning.
Yeah.